Warning, what you are about to hear sounds exactly like it was recorded in a garage, because it was recorded in a garage.
My garage.
Robert's garage. So welcome to our garage episode. Enjoy, people.
InObscuria.
My friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal!
You must have warmed up.
Oh, I was ready for that
Did
one.
you get that? Yeah, that was good. You nailed it.
Oh, my nad.
Something.
Hold on. Kicking.
Okay.
All right, we're good. We're good.
Something rolling on the floor.
Oh, man. And we put them in one of three categories. The lost, the forgotten, or the should have beens. Apparently, I just lost something. It's rolling around on the floor somewhere.
Marbles.
My name is Uni Kevin, and I'm joined today by Robert Harrison.
Fully intact.
Fully intact.
Fully intact, just for the record.
How do those dudes do it? I know I've said that before, but how do they do it? How does Rob Halford do that kind of stuff? Yes.
2 words.
Talent?
Leather pants.
I thought you were going to say talent and something else.
Tight leather pants.
Tight leather pants.
Tight leather pants.
Got it. So you're saying that I can't rock the screaming metal? No. Okay. Damn. Oh, well. What's going on with you, man? What's going on this week? What's happening in the world of the firehouse dwelling Robert?
What is not going on? I mean, there's stuff going on across the street, downstairs, down the street. I got torture-looking devices from 100 years ago in my garage now.
Maybe you should take a picture of that and then explain this thing.
I've got a short video. We'll post that when the podcast comes out. So I do metalworking, and a friend of a friend.
Metal.
Yes, and it's on top of metal.
Heavy metal.
The name of this tool is called a power hammer.
Ooh.
Which sounds like a Judas Priest album.
I think that's the next one coming out this year.
Yeah, that's the Lost Tapes or something. So it's 120 years old, weighs 1,800 pounds, and is now in my garage. And the sole purpose is to smash metal. And I think he said his nickname was Slappy. It will take your fingers off in about a half a second.
Yeah, so I go look at the picture of this thing when we put it up, but this was built when?
1901.
Okay, 1901. They obviously could give a shit about the person who was going to operate this thing, because there is no safety anywhere.
There's parts that fly around.
You will take a limb off in milliseconds, this thing.
I've been warned that parts tend to just fly off sometimes, and there's a couple of things that have been added throughout the years to try to minimize the damage when that happens, when things break. But there's videos on YouTube of these things disintegrating, on parts flying off and shooting up in the air. So it's highly dangerous, but it's also really useful. So it's going to save a lot of time and possibly kill me.
They don't make them like they used to.
You never know. Yeah, no, it's definitely not. There is no mention of safety anywhere in this. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how I can injure myself with it.
So it's in your garage. Yeah. You know what you need to go with that is one of those old early 1900s industrial fans that didn't even have
no cage.
No cage or anything around it.
The fire truck has that on the steering column. So that's the air condition, is a metal fan strapped to the steering column of my fire truck. Well, guess what? The switch to turn it on is behind the fan. So you reach over the steering wheel, over a metal blade fan with no guard on it to turn it off and on. It's just a fingertip.
Here's what fathers used to say back in the day. I told you not to put your finger in there.
That's a sticker, I think. It says that. I tell everybody it was built before lawyers were invented.
How did Billy lose his thumbs? I told him not to put his finger in.
I told him. I don't need any liability for that. As long as I tell him.
Oh, man.
So, yeah, that's just one of the many fun things that's going on around here.
Hey, it is getting close to June. Did you realize this? Very close to June.
Like 2 months away?
So we are 2 months away from having to find a plethora of potted meat
Oh, that's right.
So how's that going for you? Have you
I found
searched?
the little ones. I found the little ones.
The little ones.
That's the key. The little ones are a couple of bucks where they used to be like 50 cents. So inflation.
Awesome. So here's the deal. You come to Nashville in August and you sit down and you talk to us. We are going to bless you with a customized deviled ham can. Your very own deviled ham potted meat. What are we talking about? This is what we're talking about.
This August will rock as Rockin' Pod returns to Nashville. This annual convention brings together rock artists, fans, and podcasters for an unforgettable rock experience. Meet Billy Sheehan, Ron Keel, Ricky Rachtman, Mark Goodman, Matt Pinfield, Don Jameson of That Metal Show, drum legends Carmine Apiece and Vinny Appice, along with current and former members of Winger, LA Guns, Accept, Roxy Blue, and more. Panels, signing sessions, and vinyl and memorabilia vendors, all available to you at Rockin' Pod. Music podcasters from all over North America will be appearing on site for live interviews, networking, and speaking sessions. Got a music podcast? Register and join us. Rockin' Pod Weekend kicks off with a pre-party concert featuring former Tesla guitarist Tommy Skio and his new band Resist and Bite. Plus, Ron Keel Acoustic, Rock United, and a rare hair set featuring many surprise guests. Rockin' Pod Weekend, August 6th through the 8th in Nashville, Tennessee. Tickets, VIP, podcaster registration, and discounted hotel rooms are available now at rockandpod.com. Rockin' Pod, brought to you by DBG Productions, Brad Lee Entertainment, and Incaptia.
It said that you're supposed to register. Have we done that?
Wait, what?
We're supposed to register.
No. We're VIPs.
We just walking in
we just show up.
asses?
We just show up. We bring our own table.
Nice.
We bring our own shit.
That's the best way to do it.
All you do is just put a table. I told you we're gonna be in the bathroom anyway.
I've got a clipboard.
We're gonna be in the ladies' room.
I got a clipboard.
Yeah.
You look all official when you got a clipboard there.
Hey ladies, you can have stall number 2.
Need some soap. Get some soap.
So, did you happen to notice 2 guests that had very similar names, but they weren't pronounced the same?
Skilch and...
No, not Skilch. Not Skilch. No, so 2 amazing drummers. So
Yeah.
Carmine
And Vinny.
Apiece and Vinny Appice.
These guys are from like...
They're brothers.
Northwest Florida.
They're
right?
brothers.
Right?
So
Just go
Vinny
Southern
Vinny
boys.
played for Dio, among some others. Carmine played for, a ton of bands. Vanilla Fudge, you name it, Blue Murder, a bunch of bands. But apparently they've pronounced their last names differently.
I love them. That's so much respect.
How cool is that, man?
Yeah, they're cool. If they do that just to fuck with people, I'm on board.
That's why my sister pronounces her name Williams.
Williams. You get away from all your stalkers.
Exactly. But come meet us, come greet us, and we will give you potted ham. Deviled ham.
The devil's ham.
The devil's ham.
That's what we're giving you.
Ham from the netherworld. In a can.
There's a whole episode right there.
I think so. And after you eat some potted meat, go listen to Pot of Thunder, Cobras and Fire, Growing Up Rock, the Slamfest podcast, Decibel Geek, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Hustle, The Dummy Room, Podcast Rock City, History Science Theater, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Podkiss, The Kiss Room, I Love It Loudcast, Ages of Rock, The Synaptic Empire, and don't forget about Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us at InObscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us on the Facebook, the Twitter, and the Instagram. And with that, Robert, what are we talking about today?
We're talking about this beer that you gave, or our guest gave me.
Guest? We don't have a guest.
The guest person that just dropped off here and left.
Oh, okay. Well, that was nice
Guest to my house.
of said guest.
Yes.
Yeah, I got nothing. I got nothing.
We can talk about this beer all night.
Okay,
It's a weird beer, and I can't pronounce it. Paralytic Dreams. This is like a knockoff of Guinness, but not as thick. You can actually drink it.
Well, I got heliocentric distortion here, so...
It's probably better than this. But
amazing. Now, if only we had a subject to talk about, and if we had a guest to actually
meat. We're talk about potted meat on
maybe we'll talk about potted meat and how it
there's
sounds.
Lots of different varieties. There's just, there's beef, there's pork.
Yeah, so I'm just going to kind of throw it out there to the fates and see what happens, and hopefully something... I knew it. You just think it and it happens. And we have heard this sound before. It's not even raining. Damn. Oh, shit.
That's right.
Wait, he's coming in a little hot. Slow down. Hey, Captain Ryan, slow down. Dude.
Check my homeowner's insurance policy.
Yeah, so I think you had something in the garage, right? That you just
roll straight into the garage.
I'm fairly certain.
Hey! Watch out for that thing in the garage!
Is that you, Ryan? Are you all right, man?
Arr, I think I shivered some timbers.
Well, those my timbers or yours?
I think you owe Robert some money, some treasure.
Is that homeowner's insurance or boat owner's insurance? It covers this. This is gonna be fun.
Oh well. Well, so welcome, Captain Ryan, back to the program. Usually we would go around the world, but seeing as you have just crashed into the garage of the firehouse, we won't have an experience like we had in episode 43 around the world. We went to Germany. Episode 63 around the funky world. We went all over the place. I'm pretty sure you're going to have to spend the night here tonight. So,
I think I'm stuck in the garage.
Yeah.
The fire pole's open, so don't fall through that tonight.
Yeah, so you know what, man? Since you're here, since you crashed into the garage, why don't we talk about garage rock? What do you think?
Well, that would make a lot of sense because before I became a pirate, I lived in a garage.
As
not just practiced in a garage,
lived in a garage. Did you?
I
made sure that was accented. Yeah.
Wait, Ryan, did you seriously live in a garage?
I lived in a garage.
Well, let's start with that story.
On North Avenue on the edge of the bluff.
Oh, that's not even in the cool garage areas.
Bad part of town.
That's a rough part of town. Was back then and still is. I think.
The space I occupied was some disreputable car repair shop. At some point, it was the clubhouse of the Naptown Riders, which is a Atlanta motorcycle gang that I don't think is around anymore. But
they died out.
When we scrubbed the floor sufficiently, we found their coat of arms painted on the concrete floor.
That's kind of cool. What did it look like?
It was.
Was it badass?
It was black and maroon, and it had a chopper with a really high seat shown in profile, and I think a dude with a skull and an afro.
Nice.
Riding it.
So their art department was kind of low budget.
That's possible.
I kind of dig that. I kind of want a T-shirt or something. Oh wait, you can't do that, right? You can't wear
If you want to live.
That's right. That's the way that works. Well, they're not around anymore.
Oh, it's true.
I haven't been able to find out anything about them.
So if I wear that and somebody kicks my ass, then maybe they are around.
But they won't know.
Yeah.
You're like, no, I'm OG.
But living in this warehouse kind of fulfilled one of my early childhood dreams, which was to be the guy in the movie that opens a door right next to the Soho or Meatpacking District club and goes into his own place while everybody else is lined up to go into the club next door.
Was that Masquerade?
No.
Oh.
But this is exactly what I did. I got to live in the warehouse next to the 595, the place that was the actual
was it
nightclub.
Yeah.
Every weekend because of the noise.
Before they tried to make a legitimate go of it, it was the after hours place. So there would be nobody there at 2 a.m. and at 6 a.m. the lawn and the street was just full of cars. And people were just stumbling around, scratching up cars, trying to put keys into the doors and urinating on everything.
Wow.
It was pretty great.
What year was this? Roundabout.
I lived there for 7 years.
Wow.
From 2002 to 2009, something like that.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I assume
got a little bit better, but not much.
I assume you had air conditioning.
I had a window unit in
one like a frame corner. Yeah, you could frame it off so it'd stay cool in that area.
If you're new to the program, we are in Atlanta, so if you don't have an air conditioner and you live in a garage, you wouldn't live. You wouldn't live. You'd be dead.
No, you can't do it. I know people do, but you can't.
Yeah, the roof leaked pretty bad. We maxed out at 23 separate buckets that you need to catch the drip.
That was eventually why I had to move out of my workshop across the street because there were just too many buckets.
You ran out of buckets.
Yeah, I'm like got extension cords draped over puddles of water. Totally unsafe. But yeah, I think I had about 8 or 9 in a tiny shop. So yeah, it gets the mold and everything else just ran me out after a while.
Well, Ryan, it's been a while, man. It was episode 63. We are on episode 80 now. We're going to call this one Bustin' Through the Garage with Captain Ryan, because we're not traveling anywhere, because...
Even though we can.
We just destroyed the garage.
Yeah, but we could right now. It's not. We're not in the shutdown like we were.
Well, this is true.
The last time you were here, we weren't even supposed to be looking at each other back then.
Yeah, well, we had to sneak around the world. How have you been, man? What's going on?
I've been good. I've got lots of projects to work on. Building my own garage out of the Stone Pony.
Well,
raising the roof.
The Stone Pony.
Ripping off the.
That's a club in Jersey, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. There's a number of reasons why we call my house the Stone Pony.
But there is actually an actual stone pony. When you pull into his driveway, he built a stone pony.
Oh yeah.
Well, there you go.
Made out of stone.
Yeah. So that's how you know you're in the right place.
It's on.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
if you hit the Stone Pony, you're in the right place.
Yeah, Asbury. Yes, on Asbury Drive.
Yeah.
All right.
There are horses
Nice.
that live next door. Everything in Lithonia has the name stone or rock appended to it, and
There's a mountain made out of stone around there we won't mention.
Yeah,
There is one, yeah.
And the final touch was the outside of the house is done in horizontal white brick, just like the Stone Pony in Asbury Park, New Jersey.
Nice. Well, maybe you can put a little photo up for us so we can check out that Stone Pony
Maybe I'll do that.
on the
It'd be
Facebook.
like a panoramic with the shop and the house in it together.
We've gone into your background quite a bit on the other episodes, so if you want to hear more about Captain Ryan's background and the amazing pirate ship that he pilots every year and how we met and all that kind of stuff, go back to episode 43 and episode 63. We're at episode 80. We're going to bust on through the garage, so...
What? Bust through the garage?
Yeah, busting through the garage with Captain Ryan.
He busted in. Are we going back out?
Busting through the... Yeah, maybe.
Uh-oh.
I'll just keep going through the back wall.
Keep driving through. We'll end up in the backyard eventually.
So we're going to talk about garage rock today, and basically garage rock is the story of every band that ever was. So it's a pretty broad category.
There was a few that got their start in nice air-conditioned studios, but not many.
So as a genre, though, it's kind of the raw, energetic rock and roll that originated in the mid-'60s. And primarily it originated in the States and Canada after the British invasion. So it was about all the kids in the States and Canada going, I want to be the Kinks, I want to be the Who, I want to be the Beatles, and them just starting to figure out how to play power chords in the garage, mom and dad's garage. So that's kind of where it came from, but it wasn't called that at the time. The term didn't even come to be until the 70s, which is kind of interesting. At the time, it was just rock was rock. They didn't have all these different names for it. But, most bands that ever got together, it was either in mom and dad's basement or garage. And I know for me, I've done both. We even rented a garage unit one time, like a storage unit. Mini storage unit. Yeah, that's where we played.
You had the light bulb in the ceiling.
Yep.
That's the only power supply, so you have to unscrew the light bulb.
So you got a power strip going to that, and everything is plugged to it. And once you blow it, you're done. That's when you go home.
Practice with the door closed.
Yep, and it's
hot and smelly.
Your first band name is the 15 Amps. That's all you get. Can't play any louder.
I think a lot of people our age, in our, what are we, in our 20s? Yeah, let's call it that.
Very late 20s.
Yeah. So we remember garage more from some of the revivals. So mainly in the early 2000s.
Strokes, Drive-Bys, Vines.
Exactly. All those bands about when you were in the garage yourself, living there. All those bands were kind of crashing through the mainstream a bit, and it was a bit of a revival. And from the 60s to the 70s, really what it did was it set up everything that became punk rock. So it's kind of blurred between garage, its origination in the 60s, and then the 70s where it became something called punk. And the term garage bands or garage rock also came about in the 70s. So if a band was not punk enough to be called punk, but not hard rock enough to be called metal or hard rock, they kind of just lump them into either power pop, which we've talked about, or garage. So there's a lot of shows, especially if you look at Little Steven, Steven Van Zandt, he's had Underground Garage forever. Since 2002, he's had that show on the radio, and then he went to satellite radio, and he has his own channel. So, we're not going to dive into all that stuff that he does. He does a lot of the 50s, 60s, 70s. We may hit a little bit of that, but we're going to concentrate more on the garage rock that we know from the 2000s, because that's kind of, at least for us, I'm speaking for the three of us, but I think that's kind of where we're coming from.
Yeah,
from
it was the
garage.
Renaissance.
It was
The Renaissance.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to focus on today. But I do want to mention the 60s originators, because what's cool about the garage bands from the 60s is a lot of them had members that went on to do other things, either later in the 60s or in the 70s. And I just thought it would, just take note of a couple of those. The one band that everybody talks about and has all this cred, although they've never really had a hit, is a band called the Sonics. You're familiar with the Sonics? They're out of the Northwest, maybe Seattle, maybe Oregon. I can't remember exactly where, but they're still together. They've been together for over 50 years and still tour and only have like a handful of albums. So they play a lot of covers. Yeah, the Kingsmen with Louie Louie.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows that song. The 13th.
Well, no, everybody knows the name of that song. Everybody knows more than
good point. Good point. You're right. Everybody knows the song, but maybe not the Kingsmen. But that's who recorded it.
Banned from radio play because of that.
It was.
Know what they were saying.
It was
So
saucy.
they thought it was
They
bad.
might be singing, but
It was too saucy. The 13th Floor Elevators, you guys familiar with them?
No.
Out of Austin, Texas. So
Yeah.
they actually had an electric jug player. And it's pretty awesome. So if you've ever heard of Rocky Erickson, he comes from the band 13th Floor Elevators. And the story with this guy, he's known for just being wild and crazy. And he went on to make solo albums. And mainly he's known for just being crazy. And I say that in a rock and roll sense, but actually he has mental illness. So originally people thought he did too much LSD. They thought it was kind of that Sid Barrett story. Right. But Rocky Erickson actually was diagnosed as having some true mental illness, and he's battled through that, but he's come back over the years and continues to flourish. But there's a really good documentary if you want to find out about the 13th Floor Elevators and Rocky Erickson. There's a really good documentary called You're Gonna Miss Me, Netflix, Amazon, one of those. Check it out. It's really, really cool. The Trogs.
Yes.
What song?
Wow.
Thing. Everybody. Yeah, that was the Kinks.
Yeah. They were fighting for dominance in my brain for like a half a second. I was like, no, what was
Yeah.
No. Okay.
Everybody knows that song, but that was the
Turtles
Trogs.
and the Trogs. Those are the two. I
The
remember.
Turtles, we're going to talk about them soon. The Stooges, obviously. Where's Iggy Pop? Iggy Pop. Where does he come from? The Stooges. The Moving Sidewalks. You ever heard of this band?
Yep. Went on to become the ZZ Top.
ZZ Top.
Oh, I didn't
That's
know
where
that.
Billy Gibbons comes from.
Really?
Yeah.
He was only 56 when he started ZZ Top.
So
Beard
they're
was only a foot long.
and stubble.
didn't even have a beard, man. It's cool. You should go watch there's a documentary that came out about ZZ Top maybe a year or two ago, and
Yep,
and
watch that. That
it's
was good.
really cool. So they're called the Moving Sidewalks because they're a Texas band. They were from Houston. Well, they wanted to be similar to the band from Austin, the 13th Floor Elevators. So they went with the Moving Sidewalks.
It works.
Hey, yeah, it works.
A little piggyback.
How about the MC5? Everybody knows
Yeah.
the MC5.
The thing is, you always hear the MC5 playing in front of thousands and thousands of people. So it's hard to imagine it's hard to remember that they came from a garage. But
True.
it's when you think about what they actually sound like.
The original Detroit sound. You had the Stooges, MC5. You had a band called the Spiders. Know the Spiders? They changed their name.
Oh, Spider.
They changed their name to Alice Cooper.
Oh, now
And then there was a band called also from around that area, called the Amboy Dukes.
Yes.
yeah.
Mr.
Ted
Crazy Nugent.
Yeah, Nougat.
That's where Nougat came from.
Ooh.
And there was another band called the Nas. You ever heard of the
I've
Nas?
heard of it, but I don't know the story.
Famous guy in the Nas was Mr. Todd Rundgren.
Oh, okay.
That's where he came from. So he was in the Nas when he was his teenage
Yeah,
band.
real early.
Really early. So all these bands obviously gave us, members or full bands that went on to do bigger and better things, but they all started in the garage just like every band. And then as the 70s progressed, you kind of had this straddling of glam, hard rock, glam, which is Robert's favorite episode ever. Go listen to our glam episode.
70s,
Robert loved it.
70s glam.
70s
specifically.
glam.
Just make sure that I
Yep.
don't get accused of not liking 80s glam. That's very different.
So in between glam, hard rock, and what was to become punk, you had the New York Dolls. You had the Dictators. We've talked about Death. Dictators? About the Cramps, the
No.
Ramones.
There's nothing funny about cramps.
Yeah, no. So all those bands kind of put into this category, sort of fit into, most people think of them as punk, but really garage rock is what it was, proto-punk. Exactly. And then you had more of that in the 80s and 90s, but it really blurred. People didn't really call it garage rock. It was just you were punk or you were grunge or you were, they had other words for it at the time, but there's just a lot of bands that you could call garage bands. But then somehow in the late 90s, early 2000s, all of a sudden the actual airwaves was flooded with, you just mentioned them, the Strokes, the Hives, the Vines, the White Stripes, all the bands, except for Jet. Then there was Jet, the Black Keys, the Von Bondis, and Kings of Leon. Those are all bands that just had tremendous success in the 2000s. And then you had bands that probably were better than some of those bands that didn't get the name recognition that we have today. So, Us. I would never call us a garage band. We were power pop.
We started off very much garage.
We played in a flower shop. We were a flower shop.
It was a warehouse garage, but it smelled really good.
So let's get into some of the music, because I think we have procured quite a list here. Okay, so Captain Ryan, we're going to start with one that you sent to me, and this is from a band called the Paybacks.
Paybacks.
Which you introduced me to this band. I don't know how I missed them, because they're badass. But it's a Detroit-based group, Detroit-based garage band that was on the scene just like White Stripes and the Von Bondis, but yet I didn't know of them. So what do you want to tell us about these guys?
They got together around the early 2000s. They had an album in 2002, 2004, and then in 2006 they did Love Not Reason, and they got Little Steven's Underground Garage with the coolest song in the world, which is a track called Stranger in the House, which is 2 minutes and 20 seconds, showing that that's all the time you need to kick everybody's ass in the room.
Which is basically what every garage band
Yeah, the person forming this band is Wendy Case. She sings and plays guitar, and she's got a voice that will take the paint off the wall.
Now, you gave me a different song.
Yeah, I gave you a different song called Painkiller.
It's a Judas Priest cover, right?
It's got a little bit more...
No.
It lasts a little bit longer. As far as the band, after 2006, maybe 2008, they kind of went dormant. I'll tell you, in 2006, after I heard their song, I was sending Wendy a message on MySpace every other week.
Stalker! Stalker!
I'm down here to Atlanta. I totally envisioned seeing them at Lenny's or...
Oh, yeah.
Lenny's,
totally.
Oh, my God. That was the one. I was trying to think of that bar.
Lenny's was the one. We were trying to think of a couple episodes back.
Yeah, that was the one we were trying to think of. Where
they had some shootings there, man.
Shootings and stabbings were just part of the fun.
Yeah, in those days, when I was living in the garage and I was single, I was actually had the time and the inclination to go out to bars and hear bands that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah, you just go and see what happens.
It's a crazy thing, isn't it?
What's playing tonight?
Yeah.
It does not happen.
I wish that was still a thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it is, and we're just too old
and as
to know.
As far as I know, the Painkillers never came down to Atlanta, and other than the rumor of a comeback back in 2018, I was not able to find any other information on that.
Yeah, same thing. I was looking them up because, like I said, you introduced me to this band that I can't believe I never heard of them, because when I was approached with this subject, I went, oh man, I have so many bands, and I started writing them down from memory on a pad. I'm like, holy shit, I have 45 bands, and I haven't even looked at anything yet. So yeah, it was hard to put together my list here. So Captain Ryan, you've got a bunch of great ones, and I love the fact that you introduced me to a couple of these. So 2 of these I had no idea. I don't know how I missed them, but this is one of them, the Paybacks. Now, I will say this is an anomaly in the garage rock world, because this song is definitely more than 2 minutes, which doesn't really happen often. So sit back and relax and just chill out. We're going to chill out here with the Paybacks. This is Painkiller from Love Not Reason from 2006.
I'm going to start with your head, work my way down. Don't believe what I said, pretty baby. My self-control is new in town. Just know that I want you. Yes, I want you. And to get to the best of you, baby, gonna start with your head. It's my favorite part, but you know I like all of it, baby. The rest of you is oh so smart. Just know that I want want you. Yes, I'm sure that I do. And to get to the best of you, baby, I'm gonna plead. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna kill the pain inside. I'm gonna start with your head. Assured about it, just know that I want you. Yes, I'm sure that I do. And to get to the best of you, baby, I'm gonna plead. I'm gonna lie. I'm gonna kill the pain inside.
excellent start to finish. What a huge range that was, and just her voice and the amount of noise that band made, from almost a cabaret trio, in the corner of a smoky bar, to filling up an arena with all that sound. And the guitar solo at the end was very classic rock, kind of the Jeff Beck, Pat Travers type.
Okay.
At the end.
See, I'm going somewhere else, but I love that.
But you can hear just elements of that, but reminded me of Brittany Murphy and Alabama Shakes, because they had one big hit and they never really followed up with much after that. She's been teaming up with other artists, but I thought they had some potential because they had that blues rock band with her soulful voice, and I can see why you stalked her. Yeah.
Such a sound of the Detroit bands too, to throw in a little bit of Motown R&B into what they're doing. That was a big thing with the Detroit bands.
What direction were you going?
So the guitar, man, first let me just say thank you, sir. Thank you, because this is what I needed in my post-COVID world. I needed this band, the Paybacks. So, like I said, I never heard of them, and you introduced me to them. I listened to this song after you sent it to me, and I went, how in the hell did I never hear this before?
No, that would have been on the radio, even satellite radio. They wouldn't have played that, but it's so good.
God, it's so good. So the guitars, where I was going was, I'm like, the first half is Ace Frehley, and the second half is Hendrix.
Yeah, I could see.
So, I mean, right in my wheelhouse,
That's
man.
what I was thinking, classic rock vibe.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, if you tell me that this guitarist was not an Ace Frehley fan, I'd be like, you're shitting me, because there was a lot of licks in there. That octave step up, that chromatic octave step up, like that is an Ace Frehley just
didn't rely on the
trick.
and distortion. It's all the fingers.
Yeah, so
man, I would have loved to have been on the huddle on this song. You're like, okay, we're gonna play soft, and then hard, and then soft, and then hard, and then just for the last 3 minutes, everybody just go fucking berserk.
Just freak out. Just freak the fuck out.
Yep.
And that's one thing that I didn't mention with the 60s bands. One of the aspects of the garage bands where they were kind of the predecessor to the psychedelic hippie bands. So they were the first psychedelia bands, but they had short, concise songs, and then they kind of branched into these jammy things. And these guys, I think the true garage bands, if you want to be in this genre, you have to have a little bit of R&B with your dirty rock, with your kind of sleazy rock, a little bit of R&B and a little bit of psychedelia, and then that's just the perfect mix to give you what is known as garage.
Yeah.
Some bands do it in 2 minutes, and this band did it in 6 minutes, and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah.
So,
the rest of this album is awesome. You get to hear a whole lot more of Wendy screaming, and the songs are a little more concise than this one, but
I'll
raise up at the end.
I'll tell you this. I'll give you a little inside baseball here. This song alone has convinced me of what the next episode is going to be. I don't even have to reach out to any spirits next week. So I know exactly where we're heading because of this choice. So thank you, sir. All right. So when you mentioned garage rock to me, Captain Ryan, there was the first band I thought of was a band that's not from the early 2000s, which I think all of my other picks are, with the exception of one. But it made me think of this band when I first moved to Atlanta, or actually before I moved to Atlanta, a friend of ours who was also in our band was here before me. So I came down and I stayed with him for a couple of days as I was trying to figure out if I wanted to move here or not. And I'm talking about Paul Johnson. So Paul Johnson was in the band with us, Mercy Beat, which became Big Jack Pneumatic.
My very first band.
Robert and I were in this band, Mercy
Kevin
Beat.
was a veteran of bands for years, and I was a virgin.
I was a garage band professional.
Yes, by the way. You're like, here's how it's done.
Here's how we work.
You got to go get a haircut. Okay, you got to go.
So much so that I was like, okay, what don't you have? Okay, you play guitar and you sing. I know a guy that plays bass. Okay, I'll just do drums. Why not?
Why not? What's left?
What's left, I'll pick it up. So I played drums in that band. So anyway, our good friend Paul Johnson, amazing bass player, he introduced me to the coolest bands. He and his wife were always into this avant-garde music that I was very mainstream at the time. I had my things that I was into, but it was kind of few and far between. If I heard something else and I dug it, then I was into it, but I didn't like go out and seek out the arty-farty avant-garde kind of stuff, and Paul did. He like found all these bands that were just like, where is this coming from? And one of the bands is a band called The Makeup. Have you ever heard of The Makeup?
I don't think I have.
All right, so this band is, so I was introduced to them in 1996, so they were still around and touring at the time, but it's a band from DC, and it's a couple of former members of a punk band called Nation of Ulysses. So if you're familiar with that DC scene, we've talked about it a little bit in some other episodes, specifically in the Math Rock episode. We talked about the kind of DC scene, but Nation of Ulysses was one of those kind of first math rock kind of crazy punk bands that was, kind of hurt your brain a little bit.
Sounds like a Rush album.
It kind of does, doesn't it? But anyway, when Nation of Ulysses split, a couple of the guys went and formed this band, The Makeup. And what they did was they did exactly what we're talking about. They combined garage rock with soul, and then they had a lot of... Nation of Ulysses was also a very political band. This band was a very political band, and they were kind of this... They tried to form their own style of genre, so they called themselves Gospel Yeah Yeah. So they were very preachy, so they took on that very preachy rock and roll evangelist kind of vibe. They all dressed in suits. So they were wearing like yellow suits or whatever was just
like
kind of
TV
crazy. Yeah, like the craziest suits you can think of. And basically, their political attitude was they were Marxist. They were socialist.
Oh boy.
And so they were very against their whole vibe was they were all against the capitalist bourgeois paradigm of rock and roll. So they were trying to be this new thing. Now we know this is called a gimmick, right? But this is what they were preaching, right? So they have a couple live albums, and I'm going to play from one because they're kind of preachy, and I just think it's great. But like I said, they always wore these matching suits. They were very much in the frame of the old school 60s bands, because that's kind of where, that whole scene came from. The Beatles came over, they all had on suits, so that's kind of what they were doing.
That's commitment. It's got to be hot as balls.
I don't know how you do it, but I've never done it. 4 studio albums, 2 live albums from 96 to 2000, so they actually ended right as the movement that they were kind of part of became a big thing. And that's actually why they ended, so according to them. So they quit in 2000 due to their 5-year plan, which was Stalin's plan. So they had they're taking it. So they had fulfilled Stalin's plan. The other bands around them were copying them, basically making them and their act redundant. So they decided to call it quits. Now somehow they've reformed various times over the years. So
needs to be reinforced.
This is the first band I thought of. So I'm going to play from one of their live albums. This is After Dark Live. Came out in 1997. So I had actually heard some of their music prior to this, but I think this just represents them really well. And this is a song called Blue is Beautiful.
So many pills, baby. So many pills. So many pills. So little time to do them. Many pills. Little time to do them. That's right. We can make all the dreams come true tonight, baby. After rain, baby. Comes the rainbow. Every color, yeah. Purple, yellow, black, brown. Baby, it's such blue. Blue is beautiful. So many pills, sugar, so many times to do that. We can make all your dreams come true. Coming down to water, had to let you through. Hold up. It's the color of you, that's right. Wild out, baby. That's blue. Blue is beautiful. Down. So many pills, baby. Little time to do them. That's right. They say blue is beautiful, but the yellow is blue. It's the color of the stars, baby, up above, and the moon and the sun. But you have done every single one. Let's go. Wide-eyed, baby. Take blues, baby. Blue is beautiful.
That, my friends, is the truest definition of a train wreck, because I could not look away. I couldn't turn away. I was listening to that, absorbing that. I want to listen to it again sometime. David Lee Roth's Insane Brother for the...
What's that, baby?
But it was good. I mean, in all honesty, this is what it sounds like inside my head several times a day. If I'm in line somewhere and I don't want to be there, my head starts... This is the soundtrack to the voice in my head. It sounds just like that, which is eerie that they've got this on recording now. I've never heard it outside my head.
You should hear some of the other stage raps, because I picked a song where he's not just going off for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
But the stage raps are somewhere between Paul Stanley and, I don't know, an evangelist.
Ernest T. Bass from Andy Griffith's show.
Right.
But yeah, the music was not rehearsed. It was sounded like they're just having a good time up there.
They were known for just being very loose and just improv.
And that's what's fascinating, because that's something we weren't. We practiced, and I take pride in the fact that we played, a good show, and we played the songs how we expected them to sound.
We really made sure that when we hit an
band.
A chord, it was an A chord.
It was an A chord. That was very loosely identified as it identifies as an A chord, but not really an A chord. But yeah, so that's why it's fascinating.
Slightly
because
out of tune, but it was an A chord.
Yeah, it's not me as a musician, but it's me internally, that most people don't want to know what goes on in my head. So that's why I'm just fascinated with this song and this group now. But yeah,
that was actually not what I expected from your lead up.
Yeah.
From guys in matching suits.
Right.
But yeah, sonically, it was kind of similar to the rockabilly sort of stuff. Rockabilly punk that I was listening to and seeing live in the mid-'90s. But yeah, a little more unhinged on the lyrics.
That's a great way to put unhinged rockabilly
subject matter. Yeah.
This was a band I wish I had seen live, because I imagine it was a blast.
Oh,
just out of control.
I was envisioning them at the Star Bar.
So there's another band, and tell me if you guys ever saw this band, but the other band that they remind me of is, I believe, a Swedish band, the International Noise Conspiracy. You ever heard of them or ever see them?
No, I don't think I've heard of them.
They'll make the next episode.
Okay, good. Good.
Along the same lines.
I need some weirdness. With the COVID shutdown, everything, it's been kind of normal and routine, and I'm really trying hard to break out of that.
Yeah, you're done with comforting.
Yes.
Exactly. So
we're ready to go.
We'll go down that path next time, but they were very similar to this band, even though they came a little bit later, but we'll go into them later. I saw them on a Vans Warped Tour and was just mesmerized, and went and of course bought everything that they ever put out afterwards, but that's what I do. All right, so we're going to move forward after the makeup, and we're going into another song, and this band that Captain Ryan gave me, I've actually seen live, and the band I am talking about is a little band from Denton, Texas, who eventually moved to Austin, Texas. I'm talking about the Riverboat Gamblers.
Kenny Rogers' original band. No,
Kenny Rogers Band.
Stumbled upon these guys when I went to see Joan Jett with a friend of mine at the Coca-Cola Roxy in, I believe, 2006. And we liked them so much, never having heard of them, that she bought the album and I ripped it to my iTunes. From the name, and I think from the photo, maybe, we expected Riverboat Gamblers. We expected like the Black Crowes kind of southern,
I could see
twangy rock and roll.
Texas band.
Yeah, from Texas. And they were a lot more punky in their sound.
Most people would call this band a punk band, and they've toured with mostly punk bands, but I can see where you're throwing them into the garage space.
They did like Warped Tour and stuff like that, and apparently they changed labels, and then various members got injured in motorcycle accidents and stuff like that.
Did they not learn from the Allman Brothers? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
God.
Or Skinner.
Well, no, it's playing.
Well, same thing.
It was all playing.
One's avoidable, one's not.
But I kind of forgot that I even had this album, and then listened to it. I was like, you know what? These first two songs on this album are awesome.
Yeah, they totally fit. So I don't know if you know the answer to this. So I know this band from seeing them open for, I think, a show you might have been at. Tell me if you were at this band. This band opened for the Rollins Band and X in 2006.
At the Masquerade.
It was either Masquerade or Tabernacle.
Oh.
One of the two.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you were there. You probably don't remember. But it was
nothing to do with the gallon of beer they sold.
It was the reformed, I believe it was the reformed original Rollins band, and they were touring. X was going on before the Rollins band, and then before X was the Riverboat Gamblers, and I thought they were excellent. And then I want to say, this is a stretch, but I want to say I saw them open for Social Distortion as well, but I can't quite remember if that's the truth or if I'm just thinking that, but I think I might have seen them twice. I know that they have 6 albums from 2001 to 2012, but they're still together.
They're still together, but we can't see what they've
Why
done
have they not done anything?
in the last 8 years.
I couldn't find anything that said why they haven't put out a new album since
Yeah,
2012.
Other than getting injured or something.
Or just maybe they're working the day jobs and doing the family thing. They just tour when they can. I don't know. It's kind of strange that they're not putting anything out. But we are going to play from their album, The Confusion of Our Enemies. And the name of this song that you gave me is Don't Bury Me, I'm Still Not Dead Yet. So let's check this out.
Is that a Monty Python reference?
Not dead.
Not
dead yet. Bring out your dead.
Nope, not dead.
You'll be stone cold dead in a minute.
All right, I definitely not would have expected that with the name Riverboat Gamblers from Texas, so I agree with that part. That's a textbook punk rock song, short, sweet, and I give them credit for not using the stupid fake English accent. Blink 182, I'm calling you out.
Or the whiny accent.
Either one of those. There's just a straight ahead. Why can't they be famous instead of all the small things?
Yeah, otherwise the more I listen to it these days, I'm like, oh yeah, that does sound like Blink 182.
Yeah, but
this was the age of emo as well, and they don't sound emo. So
no, they were doing their own thing at the time, but it does sound like a lot of like Blink 182.
Okay, so musicians, tell me what it is between, there's the verse and then there's thing before the chorus. Is that a bridge?
It's called a pre-chorus.
Pre-chorus,
where they drop it down.
Yeah, build up, and then you hit the chorus.
That part really gets me. That sticks in my head, and I hear it when I wake up in the morning.
Really?
So
it kind of sets the tone for the chorus.
If your pre-chorus is strong, it almost makes up for not having a brilliant chorus. So it's always don't bore us, get to the chorus. But if your pre-chorus is really strong,
that's the exception to the rule.
Yeah,
and the bridge is usually, and not always, but usually after a couple of choruses, you hit the bridge, guitar solo, ride it out, towards the end. You got 3.5 minutes. You're done.
And then if you're a prog band, you're going to give us 4 bridges.
4 bridges. 4 key changes, 4 tempo changes.
We're done with that for a while.
Yeah.
We had Marillion last week. Yeah, now we're
back to the 3.5 minute songs. We're good.
Actually, a lot of these songs, for some reason, they are all sitting at 2:47.
This will be a quick episode. We do 12 songs this time.
Well, maybe we are.
Snack time.
So, yeah, Riverboat Gamblers, from what I remember, they were great live. I had a good time.
Yeah, we liked them enough. We bought the album. So must have been good.
Good band. I wish they'd put out something new. I bet it would sound amazing. But let's move on to the song number 4. And the other band that came to mind right away when you say garage is another garage band out of Detroit. And in fact, there's a ton of bands out of Detroit that were just, at that time in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was just cooking, man. It was just like the late 60s.
It was the financial collapse.
Maybe, I don't know. Yep. What was it in Detroit? Because obviously that whole city was run down at that time. So maybe that's why we got this amazing sleazy, garagey R&B, and this band is called the Dirt Bombs. And
I've heard of them.
They're amazing.
It's a rare occasion, but I've actually heard one of your bands.
Yeah, so they're unique because they have dual bass guitars, dual drums, and a guitar.
The
rhythm section is strong in this band. So
I've heard of 2 drummers,
nothing but rhythm,
and they got a heavy groove. I love the name of their debut album. It's called Horn Dog Fest from the Dirt Bombs. I love it. They followed Horn Dog Fest with a split single with the White Stripes in 2000, and that's right before the White Stripes really got fame and fortune. But this band should have been the next big thing. Right as everybody was breaking, they released a collection of mostly soul and R&B and Motown covers as their album, and the album's called Ultraglide in Black. So as everybody else around the scene is putting out originals and they're getting on the radio, they decided to do an all cover album, which is brilliant, but I'm wondering if that maybe hurt them a little bit. But it's a great album. I'm going to play from that one because that's the first one I picked up. They've had 6 albums from 98 to 13. A lot of these bands that we'll talk about today, that's kind of the range of the band's activity. I don't know, for some reason it's late 90s to early teens is kind of the span of these groups, but a lot of them have done reunions, but not a lot of output, so kind of interesting. So I'm going to play the Dirt Bombs. This is Chains of Love from Ultraglide in Black from 2001.
Darling, these chains of love won't set me free. Chains of love won't let me be. Try to get up in the morning, I just can't make it. You cast a spell on me, and I just can't break it. Got your love on my back, child, and I just can't shake it. If you don't help me, baby, I know I can't make it. 'Cause I'm suffering from a heartache. Suffering from a heartache. Hey, 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 hey. Chains of love won't set me free. Chains of love won't let me be. When I had your sweet love, baby, I treated you so bad. But you were so sweet and so kind. Just can't break these chains of mine. Your sweetheart, baby. Chains of love won't set me free. Chains of love won't let me be. Can't go to sleep at night thinking about you. There's a voice in my soul, baby, says I can't go on without you. Since I lost your sweet love, baby, everything's gone wrong. But your sweet memory will forever live on. 'Cause I got heartache. Hey, 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 hey. Chains of love won't set me free. Chains of love won't
Add that to the list of songs that are too short.
I was disappointed to hear them fade that out.
Yeah, I was just really kind of, okay, now I've got this.
A lot longer.
Yeah, and I'm not a bass player, so I really couldn't pick out two different basses. I know you're going to school me on that, but it wasn't
maybe
obvious.
They were just playing the same thing.
Yeah, maybe, and that's talent right there, because bass players are all over the map.
I think what was going on there was a baritone guitar playing that kind of main riff, and that's what they consider.
Is it kind of like my 6-string bass?
Kind of like that.
It's kind of
exactly.
Like that, which I need to get that back from my nephew.
You gave that away?
No, I loaned it to him for like a month, and it's been a year. Now, Uncle Robert needs to put the smack down on my nephew.
Did you guys ever hear the stuff that Jimi Hendrix did with Curtis Knight back in the 60s before he became Hendrix?
Because I knew
that's
he
what
played
this reminds me
I knew
of.
he was in the Little Richard band, but this was after Little Richard band.
I believe it was Curtis Knight was the band that he played with.
Okay.
And there's some recordings out there, but it's very similar to this kind of feel.
So my take on this, yes, this should have been big. This is a great song. At the time, the garage bands that were hitting it big, in comparison to what else was playing on the radio at that time, that heavy rap metal. It was very light, but it wasn't raw. It was listen to it now, it was, for me, it was still a little bit polished. It was a little jingly jangly. White Stripes, kind of an exception. Jack White can get pretty nasty with the guitar, although he relies on the octave pedal way too much. But he's a great guitar player, and he's got some in the time signature, some of the things he does a little more nasty. But the Stroke Stripes, Hives, Vines, they're all just kind of stripped down garage rock. This was nasty. That was the stuff that I will gravitate to all day. Sleazy.
This is sleazy.
It's not just dirty. It was sleazy, which that's what I want to hear in my garage rock. Thank you very much. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Like John Spencer Blues Explosion.
Exactly.
This is
good one.
Very hard to pick where it's coming from. Is this 1965 or 1972?
Yep.
No, it's the 21st century.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That
exactly
was
right.
A newer
kind of
sound.
Shocking.
Yeah, John Spencer's. That's a great pull right there. That's a band that you could have put in here as well. That was another one that was introduced to me by Paul Johnson. He had
next
John
episode.
Spencer Blues Explosion.
Add that to your list.
Maybe we'll have to pull him into the next time we do this. That'd be kind of cool.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
I mean, that band, that whole album, even though it's a covers album, there's one original song on it. But even all the other stuff that they released, they had 6 albums. For some reason, I go back to this one because, I don't know, there's something about the rawness of how they're interpreting this original R&B music. Just feels right.
And they're not covering well-known R&B. I mean, I didn't know that song, so that's not as much as covering a very famous R&B song. You kind of dismiss that and like, oh, that's good, but this could have easily been played on the radio because it was not a commonly known.
There's more out there that you don't know than you do know.
Oh,
yeah, they're covering they're covering the Chitlin circuit, which was basically all of the R&B bands that didn't get big. It was called the Chitlin circuit, and they would play these clubs and places up and down the East Coast, primarily in the Midwest. Small bars that were predominantly all black. And there's a lot of good music out there from those early 60s, mid 60s.
Talk about a throwdown.
A lot of people don't know. So, yeah, good stuff. All right, there's another band that I thought of. All these bands are kind of first thing that came to my mind. So I tried to go with the ones that came out of me first. And there's a great garage band from, of all places, Auckland, New Zealand. And there's actually 2 really good garage bands that came out in the early 2000s from New Zealand. One of them is called the Dotsons, which I thought about playing them. And then there's this one, which is called the
Nissans.
The Nissans. No, the D4s. And this band, they only really put out this one album in the U.S. That I'm familiar with, which didn't even get put out in the U.S. until 2 years after it came out everywhere else. But it's called 620. Came out in 2003 in the U.S., came out in 2001, I guess, in other places throughout the world. But they toured with the Hives in 2000, so there's some cred right off the bat because the Hives were huge, right? They had that one album that went crazy. And we're going to have to take a little bit of a break because Captain Ryan is bringing out the brews.
Slight pause
to pick a new brew. I'm going to do the Tropical Fun Pants. That's exactly what my wife says of me. Oh, how you doing?
Get those Tropical Fun Pants in here.
What are those, grapes? Wow, that's fruity. I basically have Fruity Pebbles in a beer can.
Really? You'll be able to fit this.
Oh, no.
I'm glad you got the sweet one.
I'm not so sure this is going with my diet.
Oh, you want to... Some water.
No, this is good. I'll do it. I got it. I have coffee next to me, and I have Fruity Pebbles in a can.
Why do you drink coffee?
Why wouldn't you?
You
drink
cannot
coffee?
go to sleep. And my nephew drinking coffee at night and then going, "Oh no, it didn't affect me." And then I'm tired.
Hey, I'm not the guy that's 50. Okay, I'm younger than that. All right.
Damn.
All right. A little burn for you there.
You got 2 weeks.
Wait, am I the guy that's 50?
No,
You're the guy
you're like what, 49? You're 52.
I've been 50.
Also?
No, 50.
50 also.
Not 50.
Yeah, I know.
You've been 50 all year.
Okay.
Get closer to that mic so we can hear you, man.
I've been 50 since November.
I'm still a year older than you, so I'm three older than you.
Yeah.
So you're okay.
Yeah, you're my sister's
48.
age. You're an old dude.
And I always thought that Robert was like 2 or 3 years older than me.
Well, that's what he projects.
Acts older.
The gray hair.
It's the responsibility.
No, he acts like he's 13.
There's so much more
Until about
responsibility.
9 o'clock, then I'm like, oh, I'm an old man.
Unless you don't feed him, and then he acts like an old
I'm
man.
cranky son of a bitch.
All right, so we're talking about the D4 from New Zealand, and basically I don't really have a lot of information on them. So they toured with the Hives in 2000. They played Australia's Big Day Out, which is a huge festival, and then they came over to the States and they played South by Southwest. And I'm just going to pause there because my band,
by the way,
had the fortune of playing South by Southwest, which is a festival that takes place in Austin, Texas. We did it several years in a row, and man, was that fun. I missed that so much, but I can't imagine seeing this band at South by Southwest. I would have lost my shit if I saw this band. But this is just an amazing band. They split up in 2008. They didn't last that long. I've only ever found the one album. There apparently was a second album. I just haven't seen it. But here's the D4 with my favorite song off their album 620. This is called Invader Ace.
Yeah, my favorite, Audible Caffeine.
That,
I
my
love
friends,
that.
is what we call rock and roll.
Hell yeah. And if you look at garage rock and punk rock kind of as a spectrum, which it is, you've got all different types in there, that's more towards the Motorhead side, which is my favorite side of garage and punk rock.
Amphetamine.
Yeah, the amphetamine, the heavier guitars, just straight ahead, not a lot of poppiness in there. Once again, you get towards the Blink 182 end of the spectrum, like, nah, I don't really enjoy that. But yeah, that right there. I would love to be reincarnated in a band like that.
The bass player of that band and I are very simpatico.
Oh, yeah.
That bass player was working hard.
Badass.
Yeah, your fingers are just monster fingers. Just
that is my style of
strings.
bass playing.
It seems if Jack White could play two guitars at once and add a bass player to the White Stripes, he would have added a bass player with that similar dexterity, and it would have maybe sounded a bit like that.
And maybe I would have bought their albums.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's definitely got a little bit of that influence. Once again, I'll say, and he's got that dirtier side of that garage rock compared to some of the other bands. That his guitar sound, just some of his music is just better written too. And I know he and the guy from Black Keys hate each other. They see each other at carpool lines. They've gotten in arguments and stuff because he thinks Black Keys stole all his stuff. And I don't know. They're similar, but I
go back about 50 years. Yeah, that's where all that stuff came from.
Everybody's stealing it. So I don't know if you can claim ownership of it at this point.
So I would describe the D4 and the Datsuns. There's something about New Zealand, but their music is garagey, but it's frantic. I would say it's very just frantic. It's just like you don't, at any moment, they could just explode and just the whole thing could collapse.
Yeah. Musical self-immolation.
I love that. I love that at any minute you're like, this could just go off the rails and they're falling off the stage.
So this was the early aught?
Early aughts, yeah. This was 2001 was when it was recorded and released in New Zealand, Australia. It came out in the States in 2003.
Okay, so the other significant musical act coming out of New Zealand at that time was the Flight of the Conchords. And I can draw no parallels between those two.
Nothing
whatsoever.
I've actually seen Flight of the Conchords live at Chastain.
An entire concert.
And they did a lot of the bits from some of their albums. It was great. And I bought a t-shirt. I should have worn it. It's an orange shirt and big Flight of the Conchords and has a pigeon pooping on it. It's great.
Classy.
All right, so we are going to move forward into the last selection from Captain Ryan. And this is another one that you introduced me to, a band from Eugene, Oregon that I never knew existed, that I am so glad you introduced me to. Now, here's what I'm going to say before you chat about this band. I found out that they named themselves after a Radio Birdman tour of the same name. Now, that name may resonate with some people who listen to this podcast because we did a show on the first wave of punk rock and we played a band from Australia and that band was Radio Birdman. So kudos to these guys for one, just for knowing who Radio Birdman is in the 90s when they were kids, but also for the parallel with, our episode 14, which was digging up some punks. So take it away, Captain Ryan.
Okay, this is the Rock and Roll Soldiers, formed in 1997 when they were in middle school in Eugene, Oregon.
How did they know Radio Birdman? That's my question.
I have no idea. It's not easy to find much information or recorded music from these guys. They put out a vinyl EP and then another vinyl EP, and then they put those two vinyl EPs together to form a 37-minute album called The Two EPs.
Epic.
In 2005.
Still one side of an album.
And they got signed to a label called East West, who requested that they change their name from Rock and Roll Soldiers. And we'll hear what their answer was to that.
They put their answer in this song, and we'll talk about them more when we get back.
1, 2, 3, 4. Turn off the sound of silence. Go for
What was the name of that band?
Yeah, the Smiths. What?
Yeah, they will not change their name. And this is our answer.
That's what rock and roll is supposed to be about right there. And I would like to think that if back in the day a record company had approached you and I and said, hey, we want to sign you to this big fat contract, but you guys need to change your name, I would like to think that I would have been like them and go, no, we're going to write a song about we're Big Jack Pneumatic. But at the same time, looking back now, I probably would have been like, well, now how much are you offering? Like, what are the terms?
Isn't that what we said to Warner Brothers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. The Canadian Warner Brothers.
We said, you know what? We're from the U.S., man.
Yeah, man.
We're
Americans.
Not moving. We're not moving, man. We're Americans.
No, it's too cold up there, you and your toques. No, but yeah, that's, like I said, that's the spirit that we all try to imbue, not imbibe.
So this band reminds me of a band. I don't know if you remember them or not. It was a band that we got the opportunity to open for when I was in the Swear, and I didn't know them that well, but they were badass. It was an English band called the Subways. Do you remember the Subways? They had like one hit, kind of like this band. Like this band, in fact, actually had a hit. It was on One Tree Hill. It was on a WB show.
Okay, they got that published.
And the band The Subways also had a hit on, I think it was the OC, one of those shows it was on.
Well, your music was on there too, wasn't it? Somewhere, one of those teenage.
Yeah, we were on
TV
Jersey
shows.
Shore.
Oh, Jersey.
Yeah, we were on Jersey Shore, and what was the other big one? It was the Superman show or whatever it was.
I don't know.
I don't remember what it was
I haven't
called.
seen a TV show in quite a while.
But
so.
Smallville. That's
Smallville.
What it was. Yeah. That was our claim to fame. But anyway,
that $30 you got from that.
the same kind of feel that you get from this song, the Subways had. So check out the Subways if you're not familiar with them. They had a couple albums around the same time. They were a badass trio from England, but I dug this band a lot. I'd never heard them, and it's interesting because when I looked them up, you're right. Like they had these two EPs, and then they packaged the two EPs together and put it out as an album. And then in 2006, they put out another album, but what I gathered from that was that they actually weren't really still together, that they just put this album out, and it's basically the same songs again. So they've released Anthem 3 times.
Getting your money's worth.
So I saw these guys when I went to see Buck Cherry at Masquerade, and I think it must have been a Sunday evening in the summer, because I remember these guys went on at like 7:45, and it was still blazing sun outside.
Oh, it was an outdoor event?
No, this was indoors,
Okay.
When it's that sunny, you can see the sun coming through the holes in the walls and the ceiling of the Masquerade. You can tell that it's hot and sunny outside.
You didn't know how porous that
Even
building
though
was until you saw it during the daytime.
Even though it's
I miss that
pitch
place,
dark
man.
on the inside.
Yeah.
I so miss that place.
And these guys came out, and I would have pegged none of them being older than 22 years old. Mm-hmm. And they just stayed in the air for their entire set. They were just jumping the whole time.
It didn't miss a note.
It was like they were bouncing off the ceiling.
That's awesome.
And I'll tell you, Buck Cherry barely survived going on after them.
I could see that.
Just insane.
Well, they were doing blow in the back while that band was on. So.
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing that did it. And I bought this T-shirt, which I'm wearing today.
Dad. He's wearing a rock and roll soldiers T-shirt.
I really liked the print on it, but I think it was also a child-sized T-shirt.
I thought you've been working out.
You are looking very svelte over there.
The shirt's just small.
Yeah, my weight distribution was different back then.
Preach on, brothers, all of us.
No.
But yeah, would love to have
Some of us.
seen more out of those guys.
Yeah, that was badass. I totally dug that. And unfortunately, it's kind of hard to find their stuff, so if you can find it, grab it. All right. I did not want to do this episode without looking back at some of the originators, so I'm not going to go all the way back to the 60s. If you want to hear that stuff, go listen to Little Steven, man. He covers all that.
It's a good show.
Yeah, it's a great show, and I can't even touch, as deep as he goes on some of that stuff. So I'm going to go to the 70s, and like I said, if in the 70s, if it was kind of a garagey mix, it was in between punk and hard rock, they kind of threw it into the garage category, and there's this awesome band from Boston in the late 70s called DMZ, which is an awesome name for a band.
Run DMZ.
DMZ, Demilitarized Zone. So here's DMZ. They recorded a 4-song EP in 1977 with Craig Leon, and that's the same guy that produced the Ramones' original album, first album, and obviously that went well for them, and they got signed to Sire, which again was the label that the Ramones were on. So they expected this band to kind of be the next Ramones. The Ramones were getting a lot of press for, kind of inventing punk, if you will. They went over to England and the rest is history. So DMZ were kind of in between hard rock and punk, but they're on Sire, and they, for their first album, guess who the producers are? Flo and Eddie from the Turtles.
Ooh.
And Flo and Eddie, if you don't know who those guys are, look up YouTube. They had a show in New York. They were big in New York, so look up Flo and Eddie. They're pretty hilarious. They, after the Turtles, if you don't know who the Turtles are, what was that big hit the Turtles had? I can't think of it off the hand, but they had a big hit, and then these guys went on, Flo and Eddie went on to, they had to change their names. That's why they're called Flo and Eddie. They couldn't use their real names because the Turtles, the way the contract was written, they couldn't do anything else musically.
They didn't own their names.
So they became Flo and Eddie, and Flo and Eddie went on to join Zappa's band, so they were with Zappa for a while, and then they did their own thing, and then they had this TV show, and guys are hilarious. But anyway, they ended up producing this band, DMZ, and the record bombed, man. It just did horrible, and the band dissolved, so they really only put out this one album, but it's in between everything that was to come. So they were just a little ahead of their time, but it's so firmly in garage as well. And one of their early drummers was David Robinson, he left that band to join the Cars. So
I don't remember his name when I hear the Cars. There's Benjamin Orr and there's Rick
Yeah,
O'Casey.
you don't think of the drummer.
No, you never think of the drummer.
But, you had to have that do.
Right.
That's the guy that played that.
Oh, okay. Okay, got it. Qigong.
So anyway, I'm going to play some DMZ from their one album called DMZ, and I never really figured out the cover. It looks like they're hugging a bunch of beer kegs. It's a pretty awesome
I've
cover.
done that. I love you, beer keg.
And this is called Destroyer.
All these songs, I need to listen to them twice, back to back. Because towards the end, I'm like, I'm really liking this. Oh, when it's over.
2 minutes, 17 seconds.
So they were definitely more New York Dolls than they were Ramones, but it was in the middle of, you're right, it's right in the middle of that mix. But I could see where the Ramones were a little catchier, not as punk rocky-er as some of the harder stuff to come later on, but still, I mean, I don't know. I could see why they didn't catch on like the Ramones did.
Well, it was 1978 when this came out. So think about what's going on in 1978 in the States. In England, maybe they would have gone over a little better.
Yeah,
you had the Pistols, the Clash.
I mean, this is still the height of Boston selling out arenas.
Yeah, and if you wanted that sound with a little more production, you'd listen to Kiss.
Right, right, exactly.
But Peter Criss never let him play that fast.
Well, he couldn't at that point in 78.
No.
Too much blow up his nose.
It wasn't enough blow to get him to play that fast.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I just dig them, but I just think that is the blueprint for what was to come in the 80s, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the hardcore bands that followed the first and second wave of punk bands, and that's kind of the blueprint.
Yeah, it was
like the West
2
Coast.
years.
Yeah.
The West Coast stuff.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking. But yeah, I want to go back to what you said. I've never thought about that, but oh my God, there's so many Kiss songs. I wish they were just a little bit faster.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That's
you
the problem.
that.
That's the problem with all of those early albums is that whoever
just
produced
drags.
them, they just dragged them too much. They were trying to do Black Sabbath when they should have been doing Sex Pistols.
Yeah, I agree. And now I'm going to have to go back and listen to those again and think about how that sounds sped up a little bit. That's probably what's bugging me.
That Rock
about
and Roll
those.
Soldiers song sounded exactly like Kiss guitar.
So much of this sounds exactly like Kiss. I mean, Kiss
Kiss was a
basically,
garage
they
band
were a garage band.
with
Yeah.
a stage show and
They had
studio
shock
production.
rock. Yeah, they had shock rock. But
Yeah.
I mean, they modeled themselves after Cooper, and that's where Cooper started and all that stuff. So they modeled themselves after New York Dolls. So
Yeah, you can play all of their songs as a stripped down garage band. And
totally.
I see an opportunity.
All right.
Just do it.
So I do want to end on a song from a more current band. And there's two bands that I thought of immediately. Again, I was trying to go with just what popped in my brain first. And there's two bands that I don't know how these guys do it, but the output, the amount of material that comes out of some of these new bands is just mind-blowing. So the band I'm going to play is a band
unlike
called...
the ones we've been chasing, where we're like, well, they had two EPs.
Two EPs, yeah.
4 times.
They took a 20-year vacation.
Now, some of these new bands, it's like, how in the hell do you record 4 albums a year? But some of these bands are doing it.
Does it have to do with the fact that the technology for
It's a lot
recording
easier.
is a whole lot easier? I mean, imagine 30 years ago what it took to rent a studio. That probably dragged a lot of bands into, well, we'll do it later. But now...
But is any of it any good?
It is. So
As
in
John
this
Lennon asked.
in this case, it is. So think about the ethos also of what is garage rock. It's really about capturing, a moment in time. It's not about refining.
No,
it's about capturing
it's
a
not
moment in time.
polished.
It's about capturing energy. So that also lends itself to very quick. You get it. You're in and you're out. That's it. One take. You're good. Is there something wrong? Who gives a shit? It's rock and roll.
That's right.
So the band I'm going to talk about is called The OCs. Now they've gone under a bunch of different names, and I'm going to play from an
I
album
saw their TV show.
where The OCs. Yeah, so we'll touch on that. So they're an amazing newer garage band. They're from San Francisco, and they were started as a side project for guitarist singer John Dwyer, and his band at the time was a punk band called the Coach Whips. I don't know if you ever heard of the Coach Whips. He started this band as a side project, and they have like acoustic meanderings, and then they have this incredibly amazing psychedelic kind of garage rock thing, and they've changed their lineup and their name multiple times. So they go by the OCs, but at some point in time they were the Orinoco Crash Suite OCs. Get that? At one point they were the OCs, spelled OCS. At one point they were the Orange County Sound. At another time they were the OCs, OHCs. Okay, that makes sense. On another release they were the OCs with the O and C's as 3 separate words. And then my favorite period of theirs that they've had, they are the OCs with a the being
Thee. This is where I stepped into
which
their
is probably where
fandom,
you know them.
Yes.
And then they dropped the all together, and they just went by OCs, OHSEES, OCs. And now they are OCs, just OSEES, one word.
Just like screwing around with us.
I love it. That is rock and roll.
Every album we're going to change our name.
Now, this band has only been around since 1997. They've only been recording since 2003. They have 26 full-length albums.
Get it. Get you some of that.
So if you like what you hear today on this band, you got to spend a lot of money. So I'm just going to tell you, they got 26 albums, and they're kind of all over the board, but they're all good in my opinion. And the only band that I can compare them to are some Aussies named King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. Now, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard are another garage band. Now, they haven't been around as long. They've only been around since 2012, but they have 18 full-length albums. So,
what'd you do last night? We recorded an album.
Yep.
And the other day.
Now, the Decibel Geek has focused on King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. So, Aaron Camaro, who did our promo for Rockin' Pod, he loves King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. So, I didn't want to play them. I want to focus on the OCs.
Is that his real name, by the way?
Of course it is.
That's a badass name. I'm jealous of that
course
name.
it is.
I want a name like that.
So I've actually seen the OCs live, and when I saw them, they had 2 drummers, and I loved it. I mean, it was one of the best shows. It was a Variety Playhouse in Atlanta, and that's just one of the best places to see a live band.
Oh, yeah.
And to see a garage band who was basically like what you were talking about with Rock and Roll Soldiers, where they were up just jumping in the air the entire time, and you got 2 drummers who were out front. They pushed the drum kits out front. It was just badass. I can't say anything else. It's just badass. So I'm going to play something from the tour that I saw. That was 2018, and one of the albums that was out in 2018 was called Smote Reverser. So I'm going to play a song called Abysmal Urn.
Yeah, those guys will be back around at
Again,
some point.
keep playing. Don't stop. Keep playing.
Keep going, man.
Well, live they do. And I just got to tell you, if you have a chance to see the OCs live, go see them because they will blow you away, man.
And I guarantee they'll be in a great club somewhere. It won't be a massive arena. We'll just get to see a really good show there.
I would say don't get too close.
Are they sweaty?
Because John Dwyer sweats more than anyone I've ever
Sweaty.
seen.
Yeah, at
He's
this
sweaty.
point in my life, I don't need to be front row anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm
I'm
not
a
all about
good,
that.
let's sit in the balcony.
That's what I did. That's exactly what I did.
Yep.
I sat in the balcony. I just
Yeah.
watched them. I got the good bird's eye view.
Nobody spills my $10 beer.
Exactly.
Or steps on my foot.
I didn't get I didn't get sweat on me from other people.
I don't need his sweat. I got my own.
Yeah.
We're good. It's nasty.
I'm good.
No, if you're going to go see Go-Go Bordello, you need to be standing up.
What is?
We could have played them here, right?
All the cool people listen to that, right?
Cool people.
Yeah.
Explain.
Go-Go Bordello.
Go-Go Bordello, gypsy immigrant punk.
Yeah, that's like I said. All my cool friends listen to that. I don't know what it is 'cause I'm not cool, but they know what it is.
I've actually never been able to really get into them, so maybe you can inform me on where to start.
They're like Los Fabulosos Cadillacs, except from Eastern
them
Europe.
I love. Them I love.
Yeah.
More homework. Okay.
More homework for us, but
I can give you all homework.
there is
You won't do it, but I can give you homework.
we have barely touched the surface with garage rock because there's just so much
But I like it.
stuff out there.
God, I like it.
It's so good. You know, if you're into rock and roll at all, if you're into any genre that's connected in any way with rock music, which is, everything that we cover here, but this is the root, man. This
It's
is
the
where it
common
all
denominator,
comes
where they, like they say in school.
from. In school.
when you learn things, the building where you go and learn things, they say things like that. This is the common denominator.
I like that. Thank you, Mr. Mathematician.
Yep, and gotta recommend Little Steven's Underground Garage.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. If you want to get schooled on, especially the early stuff, man, he covers everything.
Yep.
Man, thanks for dropping by, Captain Ryan. Apparently, you're going to be here a while. You got a little work to do on the garage, buddy.
I got some tools. Let's go fix it.
There's some tools. There's some
Duct tape.
contraptions that will take your fingers off.
Yeah,
so
we'll
just be
post a video
careful.
of that in action so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Be careful out there. And until next time, man, we'll see you later.
See you.
All right.
Arg.